Booming Thunder Radio, where we groove as the spirit moves. Yeah. Drawing the honey from the rock with the righteous Reverend Doctor on Booming Thunder Radio.
Hey, welcome back, mighty friends, to the Fourth Watch with Brother T.C. of the Elijah Ministries, coming at you live once again from down on the bayou. Yeah, just on the other side of the great river. Yeah, by the everlasting sea. Yeah, a bend in the road and a bridge yet crossed. Yeah, that all the little children's hearts this very day would know the flock that they lie down in the green pastures with. Yeah, and then they themselves can decide if they will cross the Jordan and move into the promised land, or will they stay on that east side and fatten their cattle and do as they please in a land that they chose and not the land given them by the Father of lights. So this word is for all the unseen, yeah, the whispers upon the earth, yeah, that your pomegranate tree would be shaken this very day, like dew from a lily. Today's living word is from Zechariah. And he speaks about the prophecies against the neighboring nations, of Israel. The burden, this very burden of the word of mighty Jehovah is against the land of Hadric, with Damascus as its resting place. For the eyes of men, especially of all the tribes of Israel, are toward mighty Jehovah. And Hamath also, which borders on it, Tyre and Sidon, though they are very wise. For Tyre built herself a fortress and piled up silver like dust and gold like the mire of the streets. Behold, Yehoshua will dispossess her and cast her wealth into the sea, and she will be consumed with fire. Ashkelon will and be afraid. Gaza too will writhe in great pain. Also Ekron, for her expectation has been confounded. Moreover, the king will perish from Gaza, and Ashkelon will not be inhabited. And a mongrel race will dwell in Ashdod, And I will cut off the pride of the Philistines, and I will remove their blood from their mouth, and their detestable things from between their teeth. Then they also will be a remnant for our God, and be like a clan in Yehuda, and Ekron like a Jebusite. Yea, and mighty Yehoshua will camp around his house because of an army, because of him who passes by and returns, and no oppressor will pass over them any more. For now we have seen with our own eyes. Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, your king is coming to you. He is just and endowed with salvation, humble and mounted on a donkey, even on a colt, the foal of a donkey. I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim, and the horse from Jerusalem, and the bow of war will be cut off. And he will speak peace to the nations, and his dominion will be from sea to sea, and from the river to the ends of the earth. Isaiah 57:19, Psalm 72:8, for the kings and the priests of glory upon the earth. Yea, let each one pray for the deliverance of Yehuda and Ephraim. As for you also, because of the blood of Yehoshua's covenant with you, he has set your prisoners free from the waterless pit. Return to the stronghold, O prisoners who have the hope. This very day, Yehoshua is declaring that he will restore double to you. For he will bend Yehuda as his bow. He will fill the bow with Ephraim, and he will stir up your sons, O Zion, against your sons, O Greece, and he, mighty Yehoshua, will make you like a warrior's sword. Jeremiah 51:20, Psalm 45:3, for the faithful and true upon the earth. Then mighty Jehovah will appear over them, and his arrow will go forth like lightning, and mighty Yehoshua, yea, our King and God upon the earth, will blow the trumpet. And will march in the storm, yea, the storm winds of the south. Isaiah 31:5, Psalm 18:14. Mighty Jehovah of hosts will defend them, and they will devour and trample on the sling stones, and they will drink, be boisterous as with wine, and they will be filled like a basin, like the corners of the altar. And mighty Yahovah their God will save them in that day as the flock of his people. For the stones of a crown sparkling in his land. For what comeliness and beauty theirs? Grain will make the young men flourish, and new wine the virgins. Yea, God will bless Yehuda and Ephraim. Ask for rain from mighty Yahovah at the time of the spring rain. Mighty Yahovah will, yea, the one who makes the storm clouds, and he alone will give them showers of rain, vegetation in the field to man. For the teraphim speak iniquity, and the diviners see lying visions and tell false dreams. They comfort in vain. Therefore, therefore they wander like sheep. They are afflicted because there is no shepherd. Yea, the anger is kindled against the shepherds, and mighty Yahovah will punish the male goats. And mighty Yahovah of hosts will visit his flock, the house of Judah, and will make them like his majestic horse in battle. From them will come the cornerstone. Thank you, mighty Father, for our brothers, yea, that come forth with the cornerstone. Yea, the glory, knowledge, foundation, that the Shemiah be placed upon all sides, and level the precision upon it. From them the tent peg, from them the bow of battle, from them every ruler. Yea, they're all together. They will be as mighty men, treading down in the mire of the streets in battle. Yea, all those that wallow in the mire, pigs of the earth, unclean, wretched creatures, yea, not fit for human consumption, defiling the temple, that the Spirit of the living God could not enter in a defiled temple. And they will fight for mighty Yahovah, yea, for he will be with them. And the riders on horses will be put to shame. Mighty Yahovah will strengthen the house of Yehuda, and he alone will save the house of Joseph. And he will bring them back because he has had compassion on them, and they will be as though he had not rejected them. For he is the Lord, mighty Jehovah, their God, and and he will answer them. Ephraim will be like a mighty man, and their heart will be glad as if filled with wine. Indeed, their children will see and be glad. Their heart will rejoice in mighty Jehovah. Let each of us whistle for them to gather them together. Let us have redeemed them, for our Father, collected them through the gate, that they can have rest beyond measure, peace beyond understanding, and they will be as numerous as they were before. Jeremiah 33 and double deuce. Ezekiel 36 and a pair of aces. Then mighty Jehovah scatter them among the peoples. They will remember him in far countries, and they will be with their children. Will live and then come back. 1 Kings 8:47 and 48. He will bring them back from the land of Egypt and gather them from Assyria, and he will bring them into the land of Gilead and Lebanon until none can be found for them. For they will pass through the sea, distress, and he will strike the waves in the sea. So that all the depths of the Nile will dry up, and the pride of Assyria will be brought down, and the scepter of Egypt will depart. Isaiah 19:5-7. Isaiah 51:9-10. And he will gather strengthening them in the mighty Jehovah, greatness and merciful power, his mighty hand upon each one. And in his name they will walk, declares mighty Jehovah. But who is this doomed flock, mighty friends? It's certainly not Ephraim. It's certainly not Yehuda. And the wolf, guarding the gate. Open your doors, O Lebanon, that a fire may feed on your cedars. Well, O Cypress, for the cedar has fallen, because the glorious have been destroyed. Wail, O oaks of Bashan, for the impenetrable forest has come down. There is a sound of the shepherd's wail, for their glory is ruined. There is a sound of the young lion's roar, for the pride of the Jordan is ruined. Thus says mighty Jehovah, my God, pasture the flock to slaughter. Psalm 44 and double deuce. Those who buy them slay them and go unpunished, and those who sell them says, Blessed be mighty Jehovah, for I have become rich, and their own shepherds have no pity on them. Hosea 12:8. Ezekiel 34:2 and 3. Ye mighty friends, I hope the love of God is within your heart, that you may receive a double portion of these words to manifest the twinkling of your eye, yea, and the circumcision of your flap, that your heart would be made free with the truth, and the burning upon your altar, yea, with the flesh of a fresh circumcision, bringing it forth, yea, frankincense and myrrh, yea, placed alongside, yea, put the salt upon the bread, Almighty Jehovah will no longer have pity on the inhabitants of the land, declares mighty Jehovah. But behold, he will cause the men to fall, each into another's power, and into the power of his king, and they will not strike the land, and mighty Jehovah will not deliver, yea, from their power. So he pastured the flock to slaughter, hence the afflicted of the flock. And he took for himself 2 staffs, the one called favor, and the other called union. So we pastured the flock. Then he annihilated the 3 shepherds in 1 month, for our soul was impatient with them, and their soul was weary of us. Then he said, I will not pasture you. What is to die, let it die, and what is to be annihilated, let it be annihilated, and let those who are left eat one another's flesh. Jeremiah 15:2. So he took the staff, favor, and cut it in pieces to break the covenant which we had made with all the peoples. So it was broken on that day, and thus the afflicted of the flock who were watching me realized that it was the word of mighty Jehovah. Yea, let us say to them, if it is good in your sight, give us our wages, but if not, never mind. So they weighed out 30 of silver as our wages. Genesis 37:28. Then mighty Jehovah said to me, throw it to the potter, magnificent price at which I was valued by them. So I took the 30 of silver and threw them to the potter in the house of mighty Jehovah. Matthew 27:3-10. For the kings and priests upon the earth to search out the matter. Yea, then I cut in pieces my second staff union to break the brotherhood between Yehudah and Israel. Mighty Jehovah said to me, take again for yourself the equipment of a foolish shepherd. Isaiah 6:10-12. For behold, I am going to raise up a shepherd in the land who will not care for the perishing, seek the scattered, heal the broken, and sustain the one standing, but will devour the flesh of the fat and tear off their hooves. Woe to the worthless shepherd who leaves the flock. A sword will be on his arm and on his right eye. His arm will be totally withered, and his right eye will be blind. Jeremiah 23:1. Oh, pray for always, each morning, for the peace of Jerusalem. For Jerusalem is to be attacked over and over again and again, and her radiance, her elect host guarding her are beyond anything the carnal mind could ever hope to imagine. So there, an oracle, even a burden, an oracle. Is it a burden upon you? The word, a burden. The word of mighty Jehovah concerning Israel, is it a burden? Or do you rejoice in having been chosen to receive the oracle? The very oracles of mighty Jehovah. Oh, mighty Jehovah declares, who stretches out the heavens, lays the foundation of the earth, and forms the spirit of man within him. Behold, mighty Jehovah is going to make Jerusalem a cup that causes reeling to all the peoples around. And when the siege is against Jerusalem, it will also be against Yehuda. It will come about in that day that mighty Jehovah will make Jerusalem a heavy stone for all the peoples. All who lift it will be severely injured, and all the nations of the earth will be gathered against it. In that day, declares mighty Jehovah, he will strike every horse with bewilderment, and his rider with madness. But he will watch over the house of Judah, while he strike every horse of the peoples with blindness. Then the clans of Yehuda will say in their hearts, a strong support for us are the inhabitants of Jerusalem through mighty Jehovah of hosts, their God. In that day, mighty Jehovah will make the clans of Yehuda like a fire pot among pieces of wood, and a flaming torch among sheaves, so that they will consume on the right hand, and on the left all the surrounding peoples, while the inhabitants of Jerusalem again dwell on their own sites in Jerusalem. Mighty Jehovah will also save the tents of Yehuda first, so that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem will not be magnified above Yehuda. So that day mighty Jehovah will defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and the one who is feeble among them in that day will be like David, and the house of David like mighty Jehovah himself, like the angel of mighty Jehovah. Mighty Yehoshua, the angel of light that does the will of the Father, faithful and true since the first day, even until this moment. As each of us live and breathe the breath God has given into our hearts and into our minds, that our heart would beat as a golden apple unbitten, a heart of gold. In that day, mighty Jehovah will defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and the one who is feeble among them in that day will be like David, and the house of David like God, like the angel of mighty Jehovah before them. Joel 3:16, Exodus 14:19. And in that day, mighty Jehovah will set about to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. Mighty Jehovah will pour out on the house of David and on the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplication, so that they will look on mighty Yahovah, whom they have pierced, yea, his everlasting glory upon the earth, whom they have pierced, Zechariah, yea, with a hammer in his hand, yea, driving a nail through your feet. For you would not put them in the number 5 wash tub and have them washed, yea, being pricked by the holly, clipped from the bush right outside the bedroom window. And in that day, mighty Yahovah will set about to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. He will pour out on the house of David and on the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplication, so that they will look on mighty Yahovah, whom, yea, so that they may look on Yehoshua, mighty Yahovah's everlasting glory, yea, the living word whom they have pierced. And they will mourn for him as one mourns for an only son, and they will weep bitterly over him, like the bitter weeping over a firstborn, their eyes finally opened to the living word, now burning within their heart and blazing forever within their mind. In that day there will be great mourning in Jerusalem, like the mourning of Hadadrimmon in the plain of Megiddo. The land will mourn, every family by itself, the family of the house of David by itself, and their wives by themselves, the family of the house of Nathan by itself, and their wives by themselves, the family of the house of Levi by itself, and their wives by themselves, and the family of the Shemites by itself, and their wives by themselves. All the families that remain, every family by itself, and their wives by themselves. Yea. So in that day, all those that speak carnal words and divine gold and silver coins from men and women upon the earth, and do evil to deceive the hearts of their children, even under their very noses. Yea, let all the false prophets be ashamed this very day, now and forever. In that day a fountain will be opened for the house of David, and for the inhabitants of Jerusalem, for sin and for impurity. It will come about in that day, declares mighty Yahovah of hosts, that he will cut off the names of the idols from the land, and they will no longer be remembered. And he will also remove the prophets and the unclean spirit from the land. And if anyone still prophesies, then his father and mother who gave birth to him will say to him, "You shall not live, for you have spoken falsely in the name of mighty Yahovah." And his father and mother who gave birth to him will pierce him through when he prophesies. Deuteronomy 18:20, Jeremiah 23 and 25. Also, it will come about in that day that the prophets will each be ashamed of his vision when he prophesies, and they will not put on a hairy robe in order to deceive. But he will say, I am not a prophet. I am a tiller of the ground, for a man sold me as a slave in my youth. And one who will say to him, what are these wounds between your arms? Then he will say, with which I was wounded in the house of my friends. Awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the man, my associate, declares mighty Jehovah of hosts. Strike the shepherd, that the sheep may be scattered, and he will turn his hand against the little ones. It will come about in all the land, declares mighty Jehovah, that two parts in it will be cut off, perish, but the third will be left in it. And I will bring the third part through the fire, refine them as silver is refined, and test them as gold is tested. They will call on the name of mighty Yehoshua. Yea, and he will reveal the Father, mighty Jehovah, to them in the Father's perfect time. And he will say, answering them, they are my people. And they will say, mighty Jehovah is our God. Isaiah 48 and 10. What must Jerusalem do to battle all those that have come against them, all their borders alongside, yea, seeking to destroy them, that the word of everlasting could be made true, yea, in the hearts of men that do evil for God, the greatest abomination upon the earth. It comes from the whore of Babylon and their lust for the carnal mind and their teaching that teaches the carnal nature of a man and never revealing how to slay that beast within and how to walk radiant and magnificent in the garden each day with the everlasting Father and the blood of his Son, the gate, the narrow gate, yea, that beckons each of us in and out through the door. Behold, a day is coming for mighty Jehovah, when the spoil taken from you will be divided among you. For he will gather all the nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city will be captured, the houses plundered, the women ravished, and half the city exiled. But the rest of the people will not be cut off from the city. Then mighty Yahovah will go forth and fight against those nations as when he fights on a day of battle. In that day his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, which is in front of Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives will be split in its middle from east to west by a very large valley, so that half of the mountain will move toward the north and the other half toward the south. Ezekiel 11:23, Isaiah 64:1 and 2. You will flee by the valley of mighty Yahovah's mountains, and the valley of the mountains will reach to Azeel. Yes, you will flee just as you fled before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Yehudah. Then mighty Yahovah, my God, will come, all the holy ones with him. In that day there will be no light. The luminaries will dwindle, for it will be a unique day which is known to mighty Yahovah. Neither day nor night, but it will come about that at evening time there will be light. And in that day living waters will flow out of Jerusalem, half of them toward the eastern sea, and the other half toward the western sea. It will be in summer as well as in winter. Ezekiel 47:1 through 12. God himself will be king over all. Do you hear? And mighty Yahovah will be king over all the earth. In that day, mighty Yahovah, yea, and his everlasting glory upon the earth will be one, and his name one. All the land will be changed into a plain from Geba to Rimmon, south of Jerusalem. But Jerusalem will rise and remain on its site from Benjamin's gate as far as the place of the first gate to the corner gate, and from the tower of Hananel to the king's wine presses. People will live in it, and there will be no longer be a curse, for Jerusalem will dwell in security. Now this will be the plague with which mighty Yahovah will strike all the peoples who have gone to war against Jerusalem. Their flesh will rot while they stand on their feet, and their eyes will rot in their sockets, and their tongue will rot in their mouth. It will come about in that day that a great panic from mighty Yahovah will fall on them, and they will seize one another's hand, and the hand of one will be lifted against the hand of another. Yehudah also will fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the surrounding nations will be gathered, gold and silver and garments in great abundance. So also, like this plague, will be the plague of the horse, the mule, the camel, the donkey, and all the cattle that will be in those camps. Then it will come about that any who are left of all the nations that went against Jerusalem will go up from year to year to worship the King, mighty Jehovah of hosts, and to celebrate the feast of booths, with the indwelling of the Son's Spirit, the heart of gold, the blood of the anointed Son's teaching of Torah, the revelation of the mystery of heaven, upon the earth revealed. And it will be that whichever of the families of the earth does not go up to Jerusalem to worship the King, mighty Jehovah of hosts, there will be no rain on them. If the family of Egypt does not go up or enter, then none on them. It will be the plague with which mighty Jehovah smites the nations who do not go up to celebrate the Feast of Booths. This will be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all the nations who do not go up to celebrate the Feast of Booths. In that day there will, on the bells of the horses, holy to the Lord, holy to mighty Jehovah, and the everlasting glory upon the earth, the living word in a man's heart, the first temple light deep inside Yehoshua, his blood upon our hearts and minds. This will be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all the nations who do not go up to celebrate the Feast of Booths. In that day, bells will be inscribed on the horses, holy to mighty Jehovah, and the cooking pots in mighty Jehovah's house will be like the bowls before the altar. Every cooking pot in Jerusalem and in Yehuda will be holy to mighty Jehovah of hosts, and all who sacrifice will come and take of them and boil in them, and there will no longer be a Canaanite in the house of mighty Jehovah of hosts in that day. Let God's love for Jacob be everlasting. Let the sin of the priest, let them be discipled. Let the sin that creeps in each of our families receive the purifier's word of life. That your book of remembrance, your final admonition, would be to tread down the wicked, for they will be ashes under the soles of your feet on the day which mighty Yehoshua is preparing for our Father Yahovah. Yea, says Yehoshua, Lord of hosts. Remember the law of Moshe, yea, our servant, the servant of the mighty one of Israel, yea, statutes and ordinances which mighty Jehovah commanded him, yea, by the Son of everlasting before him in Horeb for all Israel. Behold, mighty Yehoshua is going to send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and terrible day of mighty Jehovah. And he will restore the hearts of the fathers to children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, so that mighty Jehovah will not come and smite the land with a curse. Luke 1:17, Isaiah 11:4. Now, the apostles and the brethren who were throughout Judea heard that the Gentiles had received the word of mighty Jehovah. And when Peter came up to Jerusalem, those who were circumcised took issue with him, saying, "You went to uncircumcised men and ate with them." But Peter began to explain to them in orderly sequence, saying, "I was in the city of Joppa praying, and in a trance I saw a vision, an object coming down like a great sheet lowered by four corners from the sky, and it came right down to me. And when I had fixed my gaze on it and was observing it, I saw the 4-footed animals of the earth and the wild beasts and the crawling creatures and the birds of the air. Yea, I also heard a voice saying to me, 'Get up, Peter, kill and eat.' But I said, 'By no means, mighty Jehovah, mighty Yeshua. Yea, oh, the willing vessel. Oh, let each of us contain the Father's Spirit. Yea, for nothing unholy or unclean has ever entered our mouths without repentance of the unknowingness of what we had done.' But a voice from heaven answered a second time, 'What God has cleansed, no longer consider unholy.' This happened 3 times, and everything was drawn back up into the sky. And behold, at that moment 3 men appeared at the house in which we were, having been sent to me from Caesarea. The Spirit told me to go with them without misgivings. These 6 brethren also went with me, and we entered the man's house. And he reported to us how he had seen the angel standing in his house, and saying, 'Send to Joppa, and have Simon, who is also called Peter, brought here, and he will speak words to you by which you will be saved, you and all your household.' And as I began to speak, the Holy Spirit fell upon them, just as he upon us at the beginning. And I remembered the word of mighty Jehovah's everlasting glory, Yehoshua, how he used to say, John baptized with water, but you will be baptized with the Holy Spirit. Therefore, if God gave to them the same gift as to us, also after believing in Yehoshua, the anointed Son of everlasting, who was I that I could stand in God's way? But when they heard this, they quieted down and glorified God, saying, well then, God has granted to the Gentiles also the repentance, yea, to life everlasting. Yea, mighty friends, let the word of everlasting, yea, be manifested. Seek first the kingdom of heaven. Yea, when you rise from the darkness of the fourth watch, seeking truth and honor everlasting upon the earth, dare to step out of the ship onto the raging sea and walk across the water unto Yehoshua, yea, as he calms the water, as you walk in faith with him, yea, with each of us, the remnant, yea, filled with the everlasting glory forever upon the earth, living and breathing each breath, each step for the Father, and the love of the truth within our hearts and within our minds forever.